In today's session, we're going to continue on the series on leadership and workforce alignment and engagement. To become a high-performing organization, we need to have that alignment and engagement of leadership, but also employees within the organization. If we can do that, we can become a high-performing organization. Today's session, we're going to talk about recalibrating the mindset and how to use the Socratic Method to go about and understand when someone's not buying into what we want to do as an organization, how we understand where their mindset is and how we use the Socratic Method to achieve buy-in and get alignment of those employees. So it's an opportunity to coach the employees to recalibrate their mindset on what their beliefs and what their thinking is so that it's aligned with the organizational goals and objectives. So what is the Socratic Method? So the Socratic Method was named after the Greek philosopher Socrates. It is a method of questioning that is used to stimulate critical thinking, to encourage open dialogue, and to explore complex ideas and concepts. The method begins by asking a person questions about their beliefs, opinions, or knowledge on a particular topic. And then these questions are aimed to uncover the assumptions and the beliefs that underlie their thinking. So if they have a thinking that's different than what the organization is trying to achieve, then we have that misalignment. So what we're trying to do is understand, first of all, what is their thinking and where is the misalignment so we can start to recalibrate their mindset and their beliefs and their underlying ideas. When we look at change, we're looking at this change matrix. So the change matrix is made up of 4 boxes. The positives of not changing, which we call our mermaids, the negatives of not changing, which are the alligators, the positive of change, which is the pot of gold, and the negatives of change, which are the crutches. So depending on who you're talking to, they might be in different sections of this change matrix. So you need to understand, first of all, what box are they in, and then where do we need to move them? So if we're in layer 0 of why change, they're probably in this upper quadrant here of the positive of don't change. So they don't even understand why we need to do something different because they believe everything that we're doing is correct. Then you're going to have another group of employees in this disagreeing on the problem. So they're understanding that there is negatives of remaining the same, but we don't agree on what is the problem. And then also layer 2, you're going to have people here that agreed on the change, but they see some negative implications of that change. So they're seeing disagreement on the direction of the solution, which is layer 2, and they're in this quadrant here. So depending on which quadrant they're in, you need to understand that before you start the Socratic Method, or use the Socratic Method to understand which quadrant they're in so you can move them to the positives of change. So that's what we're trying to get to, is this pot of gold. So what is the buy-in process? Many of the sessions before, we talked about the layers of resistance. So the buy-in process is overcoming those layers. So first, we agree that there's a problem. Second, we agree on the problem. Third, we agree on the direction of the solution. Fourth, we agree on the details of the solution. Fifth, we agree that the negative ramifications can be resolved. Sixth, we agree on the details of the implementation. And 7, we agree on the risks, and the risk can be mitigated. So looking at the buy-in process, we want to take the Socratic Method to walk people through that buy-in process. So therefore, we start the conversation. And before you start a conversation with somebody, make sure that you have a deep understanding of the concepts you want the others to understand. You don't want to go into a conversation with limited knowledge on a topic or not full understanding of the topic, because when they start asking questions, they'll bring up beliefs and concepts, and you might be, oh, maybe they are right. And you start to question yourself, and then you really start to have struggles of trying to convince them that they need to do something different. Number 1 rule, never tell the person you're speaking with that they're wrong or they don't know what they're talking about. And why is that important? Because they believe that they're right, and they don't understand that they might have a false assumption that they're working under. It's important to note the Socratic Method is not about proving to someone that they're wrong, but helping them refine their thinking and gain a clear understanding of their own beliefs and ideas. So when we look at developing questions, there's different types of questions you can ask. And of course, there's closed questions. So closed questions are questions that can be answered with one word, typically a yes or no answer. So we don't want to use these types of questions when we're trying to start a conversation. When we want to start a conversation, we want to ask open-ended questions which require more than a one-word answer to get the conversation started. And as we start having a conversation with a person about a topic, we can start to understand what are their beliefs, where's their mindset at, and how do we recalibrate that mindset to understand the topics that we understand in more detail. We can do that by starting to ask probing questions. So when we start to understand we have a misalignment between the belief of the employee and what the belief of the organization or what we're trying to accomplish, we start to ask probing questions to understand what is their false assumption that they're using that makes them believe that what they're doing is the correct thing to achieve the objectives. We can also use leading questions. So leading questions are usually repeating back what you heard from the person in a form of a question to clarify what they said. So one thing we don't want to do is misinterpret what they said. We're clear in their understanding of the topic. So when we're applying the Socratic method, prior to the conversation, we want to make sure we have a clear understanding of the objective we want to achieve. So what's the pot of gold we're trying to achieve? Second, clearly define the cause and effect thinking that is necessary to achieve the objective. So that's our deep understanding of the topic. During the conversation, present the idea and challenge the person to explain their justification for why the objective is not obtainable. It's to understand their current paradigm or their false assumption. Then give a counterexample or analogy where their current paradigm does not hold true. So if they have a certain belief, give them an example of where their belief doesn't hold true. Then ask whether they've experienced that condition and let them explain their experience. Then challenge that person to articulate your cause and effect thinking using the new paradigm of way of thinking. An overview of the process. So understand the layers of resistance and more importantly, the buy-in process. 2, then apply the Socratic method. Make sure you're prepared before the meeting or the discussion and you have a deep knowledge on the subject matter. Never tell the person that you're speaking with that they don't know what you're talking about, and then use the appropriate type of question to create the conversation. Open, probing, and leading questions, and then use an analogy or an example to demonstrate the change in thinking required to change their paradigm or mind shift. And the only way to get good at this is to practice, practice, practice. I can't stress that enough. It's like practice makes perfect. You're going to make a lot of mistakes at the beginning, but practice, especially with someone that's not confrontational, as a method to hone your skills on using the Socratic method. Okay, that's our session for today. Thanks for joining. Connect with me on LinkedIn, visit our website, go to our YouTube channel where we have lots of videos on mind shift change and what it takes to become a high-performing organization.